you are trying to help me, you have to pay me. I'm sitting there like, how do I have to pay you if I'm trying to help you with what you're going through? Now we get to deal with, or I'm, putting my time towards this here that we're doing. I'm like, no, you putting your time towards what we're doing is because I'm trying to help you. And then I sat down, try to listen to this guy, and then they came to the conclusion towards the end that he was raised by a lot of women because he could not see what it is that I was trying to do with him. And the helping that I was trying to provide for him, he kept looking at the money. I'm like, the money is not even a part of solving your problem in the long term. The money can only solve problem temporarily. At this moment, money is solving problem. But you need something that will solve a problem or try to put a clock between that hole that your life is in. Put something that will prevent you from having to stay within that hole, so you could be at least outside, even if you're not going to be outside, but your head is actually getting some air and you're not going through stress as much as you should be, going through stress based on the environment. What does that mean? What that means is this. We need people who can help us think, because life is not new. And everybody around us, if nobody likes to solve problems, we are always going to have problems. No one man can solve every problem. There are problems that I have, and sometimes I get stuck. I look for people, or I look for books that could help me get out of that problem. I read it, or let me put it this way. I put time to listen. So when I put time to listen, then that allows me to solve that problems. At first, I would listen to it. In my mind, it will register as, should I take this or should I not? I start having a time by myself, not with alcohol, but by myself, trying to debate over that, solution that somebody has provided me with. Is this solution beneficial in the short run, or is it in the long run? How it's going to fix the problem that I'm going through. So when I go through that with time alone, by myself, not with anybody, not with alcohol, not with none of that stuff. And then once I figure, okay, this here was able to solve the problem in the long term, it's always something that's going to solve a problem in the long term. If it can't solve a problem in the long term, I don't really want to give it so much time, but I will give something that would solve a problem in a long time. So, which was the case for me in Cuba. I remember I sat down by Molly Khan, and I just started going through the adventure or the episode of day 4, what I went through. It really drained my head. My head was so drained, I couldn't understand it, and it was hurting me at the same time. Hurting me to the point where the person could abandon something that's trying to help them in the long run, only to pick something that's so small. And then tomorrow you wake up, you're starving again. You're able to buy this. I was able to give that person the money. I was like, you know what, here you go, man. But the thing that I was trying to help them achieve, they couldn't see it. So I sat down by Molly Khan, and I got to a point where, I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not want to talk to anybody. I just sat there. There were a couple of people that came by, blah blah. Some of the Afro-Black Cuban came by. One guy, Emilio. At first I was like, man, listen, I don't want to talk to nobody no more, man. I just want to sit here, just enjoy. I don't want to be social with anything, because there's some stuff that I'm seeing here. And if you think Cuba is rough, you should think of what Afro-Cuba is going through. Because most of the time we don't see it on TV. even if we see it on YouTube, but we don't try to pay attention to it. Afro-Cuba is going through so much problems, especially with the economy. Now, I realized in Cuba, I went there to try to support Afro-Cuba in businesses and different things like that. And what I realized is after I sat down with Emilio, one of the cool person that I met there, and he was able to break down to me because I had a mental breakdown. I didn't want to talk to people, and to me, it started feeling a little bit bad because you're at the place and you don't want to be social with people that live in that country. Why? While I was sitting there in Maliko, I'm trying to overthink this stuff, like what's happening. And then he broke it down to me really what was happening with Cuba and Afro-Cuba. And one of the things that I realized was a lot of Afro-Cubans don't have businesses. I went there with the mindset of trying to support Afro-Cuba businesses, but then you started not seeing so many people of Afro-Cuban descent having businesses around the place. So I'm like, if I came here with my camera to try to support this movement, but the movement doesn't exist. The movement doesn't exist, and it's just everybody just reading books, talking black points, which is good, but reading and having meetings have to bring a result of something economically, so the people could be helped in some sort of way. It's an exchange. People come to Cuba, they're like, okay, we come to Cuba, we support these people, we support those people, but what about Afro-Cuba? Can we support Afro-Cuba? Then you go there, you don't see nothing with Afro-Cuba. So he started breaking to me exactly what places that I needed to go if I wanted to support Afro-Cuba. Then I sat there, I just listened to him, he broke it down so well, and then it perfectly made sense. It made sense to the point where what I was going through and what I was seeing. And then the next day, when I got to meet the people who scammed me, I didn't take it personal because even when the scamming happened, scamming, I finally learned the word in Spanish. It's called estafa. So when I found the people who did this stuff, I couldn't get mad at them. We still had a conversation, and then after the conversation that I had with Emilio, I'll put Emilio's picture probably somewhere, either towards the end when I started going over the people that I met in Cuba that allowed me to see Havana, Cuba for what it is and for what it's not, with the self-discovery and just the conversation that I had with the locals. Because you're going to have to talk to the locals in order to understand what's happening beyond the curtain of tourism. So he broke it down to me. He told me that even though the school system is free in Cuba, most Afro-Cubans do not go to college. So I asked him, why was that? It says they believe they just have to do things that rappers do, and they will make more money instead of having to go to school. So I sit there, the rappers, the people in Miami, the people, especially in America, most of these people, the reason why they make money is because, not all of them, but the majority of them is because they sell Black Death. So Black Death and Black incarceration, that's the name of the game. That's the business. If they don't sell that, they cannot make a lot of money because hip-hop, as you know, hip-hop is run by Black people, but no, it's practiced by Black people, but economically it is not run by Black people. So when that's the business model where you are creating the art but somebody else is selling the art, you have to deliver an agenda of what that person wants. So what does that person wants? That person wants more black people to go to jail. That person wants more black people to die of things that have zero, like literally zero value towards the black community. They want people to, to go through that experience. Where the culture now start to become, because who set the culture? The culture is set by people who have money. People necessarily do not really create culture unless the people who have money have put the mind into creating things that would entertain the people that following them to become what it is that they are writing, which is kind of like coding people to become something of those who have money. So let's say like in America, there's a lot of gay people. That's because a lot of rich gay people, a lot of people who have money are gay. You will see that in a lot of cities, and you cannot touch the gay subject when everybody is claiming to be equal. Everybody makes jokes about everybody, whether you're a woman or you're a man, you're this, you're that, you're handicapped. Everybody makes jokes about that. But it has gotten so crazy to the point where you cannot even say anything that's offensive towards the LBGT and plus so many letters. You cannot say anything offensive about them because they are the ones with the money. So since they're the one with the money, they are going to pay those that want to distribute how they think. And that's the culture. Whew. You know what? Yeah, I think I'm getting too deep here. Maybe I'm not getting deep. Maybe you do know this stuff. Maybe you don't know this stuff. But that's really what's happening. So with the Afro-Cuba, what was happening, it broke my heart. I was really going through it, on that fourth day, because it was just so much. And you seeing a lot of black women in Cuba are prostitute. Because okay. Let me see. How can I put this? I started to learn that a lot of black women in Cuba are prostitute because you look at the government, the jobs, the everything else that's surrounding the people, nobody really have a higher position that is of a different race. There are people, Spain has a flag in Havana, Cuba. And there was a lot of people, Spain characters in Cuban money. But all those people that are part of the Cuban money monetary system, their faces on there, none of them would have been able to solve the revolution without Afro-Cuba. None of them. Every single one of those movements needed Afro-Cuba. Now, then it gets to the wealth, distributing the wealth. I will partially not just blame it on the Cuban government, because if black people are not willing to go to school and they don't want to improve the condition, they want to follow other conditions that does not really benefit everyone as a whole, but only benefit a certain type of people, because there's going to be a million people trying to become artists. Maybe only 3 people will become celebrities. So if the whole community is going to try to give themselves into that, and then once they try to do what it is that they're trying to do doesn't work, somebody's going to have to become a scammer. So when you become a scammer, or you follow the scamming ways, not the hamming ways, the scamming ways, which is it's like a sports that you play with tourists to try to get money off of them by just, I don't know, man. You know what? This thing is just boiling my heart. And yeah, day four was definitely a mental breakdown. I didn't like day four at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was so much to take in. I had to just relax, you know, and let the music take over.